And we knew that this was a play that we had to do, it demanded that we do it. And the planets aligned. We actually got the rights to the play right before they were withdrawn, right? And,
yes.
and we had lunch in New York, and he said, "How the hell did you get the rights to this play?" And it was purely timing.
The rights are when there's a Broadway production of a play. The producers insist generally that the rights for any other production be withdrawn in the period that production plays in New York.
Yeah.
And so that's a contractual thing. And so when I met Michael, the contract wasn't signed yet, but I wanted to be sure that Michael had the rights, and you had them for a couple of months already.
Yeah, yes.
So it was safe, but it was dicey.
It was dicey because the producers were not happy about
it. I think they were troubled.
Yeah, they were troubled that we had it. But so it was a completely independent idea. Now, having said that Danny was the motivating factor for doing this play. I did feel very strongly that now maybe that the play it actually meant more to me now than it did then, because I made a joke about it being a documentary. Obviously the play lives in a world where making choices artistically, I have to do this all the time. I have to choose plays, and I have to choose artists. I have to choose work that I hope will please you, but I also need to know that the artists, that we're doing something that means something to us. The big challenge in running a theatre in America is how do you balance artistic passion and integrity with commercial viability? How do we have the theatre survive and please people without going so overboard with being popular and being well-liked and selling tickets that we lose our artistic integrity and mission? It seemed to me that this play profoundly addresses that problem, but in a hilarious and unexpected way. So it was both, it was personal and meaningful in that sense, but I also knew that we could do a production that would make you feel you were in the presence of something thrilling and exciting. I mean, David hinted at this a little bit, where did the play come from? And we've had a lot of discussions about that. It's not an issue play. It is without being one. He doesn't consciously set out to write something about where we are economically and politically. But I've had very interesting reactions to this play. I mean, Valère as a character whose ego is matched only by his ignorance.
I much prefer to any drooling fan a critic who will slice me into parts. God love the critics. Bless their picky hearts. Precisely, and in no uncertain terms, they halve the apple, showing us our worms. My God, that was a brilliant illustration.
You're falling asleep while I'm talking.
No.
I'm sorry, this is a very long answer to that question, which I've forgotten.
I don't think that was a question.
Am I sort of answering? I'm sort of answering.
We have to have both. We have to have the Spy Man on Broadway if we ever do, and anything else.
Yep, you know what? You're absolutely, and I've come to believe that. So I feel like we have to create seasons of theatre. This is kind of a theatre district as well as a theatre. I feel not everybody's going to love Bete. It's rigorous, it's demanding, it's thrillingly intelligent. It is a language piece in a culture that doesn't really listen anymore.
Right.
You know, so we know there are people who come up to me at every performance and say, "This is the most thrilling and exciting thing I've ever seen," and others come up to me and say at the intermission, "Is he going to go on like that?" I really, because you all tell me what you what you really think, and I say, you know what, he is going to go on like that, but you're going to find it really interesting what happens, and encourage everybody to think that it is a story about. I mean, there's a literal story going on about an acting company facing issues of artistic integrity. But if you allow yourself to really listen and think about it, it is clearly about much larger things that we are dealing with in our whole culture. And my instinct was that the play would land now in a way it maybe did not in 1989 in America, that it would really land now with who we are and what we understand ourselves to be. And I believe that David, in his room, writing this at the age of 28, like so many of the brilliant playwrights were young, and in his, doing this, that he was somehow channeling something very profound about how we deal with art and how we produce it and how we present it and how the public receives it. He was tapping into something. I mean, the structure of the play is brilliant, the way it's built scene by scene. The characters are very vivid and alive, and there's so many rich ideas coming at you. I feel we've really scratched the surface in some ways. I know you all feel that in Actors of What Is There. And anyway, shut me up quickly. Somebody else ask a question. Yes?
Two things I want to say. One is I love the language, and I would like to see the first act again at about half the pace. The second thing is, I'm amazed you're still alive. If I could have reached the stage at some point, I would have been up there trying to muzzle you. It was such a barrage. I felt exhausted. But it was wonderful.
Did I just respond to what you said about there's so much coming at you, you need to see it again? I think with a work of art, which this play is, you need more than one exposure. Would you listen to a Beethoven symphony once? Would you go and see a great painting once? Every great play, even every great song, how many songs you loved, you listen to them once and go, that's it, I like that, don't need to hear that again. This kind of play requires really listening to and hearing again, and the more you bring to it, the more you will get out of it. That has certainly been our experience of doing it. Danny, you want to talk about the experience of creating the role?
Well, one of the things that's, when you're in it, you can't play ignorant and ego.
To hear himself discussed so centrally, my God, I thought, are they denouncing me? These men of such distinction and renown? How thrilling! I'm the one they're tearing down. What joy that Elamir, who people say is destined to become the next Corneille, should slander me in such a public forum. And by the way, it isn't just decorum that prompts me to express my awe of you. Your plays, I think, show genius.
I think what the play ends up doing is not falling down, okay, Elamir's a genius, and Valère is a non-genius. That Elamir is purity and Valère is commercial, and that's a story that yes, he's ignorant, yes, he's egotistical, but he's also a genius as far as performance goes. I mean, even the way he's as big a genius as David Hurson. He talks in those languages in rhymed couplets. Try it. And so he's actually super, super intelligent. That little scene that he's an idiot savant, yes, he is. And that I feel like, I mean, this is because of my own artistic aesthetics and belief, is that it's also challenging what we think of as the high art that must be protected from the low art, that actually that boundary is extremely fluid, and that there's just as big a reason to take the purists to task for ruining the American theater as there is the clown.
And I think